My parents said, "It's just not the right time for me and my kids to come for Christmas." But my sister's coworker and her dog were there. I just sent a photo of the gifts. 10 minutes later, my mother called 24 times in a row. I ignored everyone. Then my father showed up and knocked on my door. Without thinking twice, My parents didn't need me or my kids this Christmas. Not until they saw the photo. Up until then, we were politely excluded. "It's just not the right time," my mom had said like she was reading off a script. "With everything going on, it'll be simpler if it's just us and your sister this year." Us and your sister. Not the family. Not everyone. Just them, my sister, and apparently her coworker. And the coworker's dog. That part still stings. They said the house was too full, too chaotic for me and the kids. But there was room for a woman none of us had ever met and her dog. I didn't fight them. I'd gotten used to this pattern over the years. My sister could do no wrong. Married rich, worked part-time at a job she didn't care about, never sent money when our parents needed it. Meanwhile, I covered half their bills last month, sent groceries, even fixed their Wi-Fi. But this year I had gone all out. I'd been working extra jobs since last February, quietly putting money away, skipping things I needed, saving every bit I could. Because their car, the one held together by duct tape and hope, was finally beyond repair. I saw my dad walking home from the mechanic one day last spring. He didn't know I was watching from my car. I made up my mind right then. I was going to buy them a new one. Nothing flashy. Just a reliable, clean, beautiful Honda. Paid in full. Title in their name. It was parked in my driveway Christmas morning. Red bow and everything. The kids and I were going to surprise them that night. Dad, we stayed home. The kids were confused, kept asking when we were going to Grandma's. I just said plans changed. We made pancakes in the shape of snowmen, watched movies. I was holding it together until I saw the pictures online. My sister had posted them. Her stupid husband in a Santa hat. My mom smiling like this was the happiest she's been in years. The coworker had brought wine. The dog had its own stocking. There were 11 people in that room. But not me. Not my kids. I didn't say anything. I didn't comment. I didn't text. I just walked outside, stood next to the car and took a photo. I sent it to my mom. No words. Just the image. 10 minutes later she called. 24 times. I didn't answer. Half an hour later someone knocked. It was my dad. And without thinking twice I opened the door. He looked like he had rushed out the door the second he saw the photo. No jacket. Just a hoodie over a flannel, breath visible in the cold. He didn't even say hi, just glanced past me toward the driveway. "Is that real?" he asked. It was. I told him it was. Emphasis on was. I think that's when it hit him. That the moment he and my mom decided me and my kids weren't worth squeezing into the holiday plans, they also decided to miss out on what I'd been planning for almost a year. He didn't say anything. Just walked inside like he still lived there, which in some ways he kind of did. I still pay part of their utilities. The kids heard him and ran straight to him like everything was normal. They still didn't understand that we weren't going to Grandma and Grandpa's. That we weren't invited. He hugged them. Genuinely. Like he was ashamed to look at me but needed to see them. Then he dug around in his hoodie pocket and pulled out two small things. A plastic dinosaur still in its packaging and a keychain with a tiny flashlight on it. One of those ones they keep by the checkout lane at gas stations. The kids didn't care. They lit up like they'd just unwrapped gold. Thanked him, hugged him. My dad smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We sat down in the kitchen. I made coffee for both of us, not because he asked but because I still wanted this to be civil. Then I told him everything. From the day I saw him walking home from the mechanic and decided I was going to fix this. How I took on extra freelance work, sold a few old pieces of jewelry, canceled everything that wasn't essential. I told him how I scraped and planned and saved so that for once they wouldn't have to worry. So that their car wouldn't leave them stranded or worse. And then I told him how it felt. To be told that me and the kids weren't welcome. That it's just not the right time. To open Instagram and see my sister, her lazy husband, a coworker no one knows, and a dog, all smiling in front of the fireplace where my kids' stockings should have been. He didn't interrupt. Not once. He didn't even defend my mom, not really. He said something about how your mother was just trying to make it easier this year. But he said it like he didn't believe it either. I told him flat out. The car's not happening. I'm returning it. Even if it costs me. The dealership already said I'd have to pay a 7% restocking fee, which is a few grand I won't get back. But at least I won't feel like a sucker. He stared at his coffee, then back at me and said nothing. Just nodded slowly. Then he stood up, hugged the kids again and left without looking back. I thought that was it. But about 2 hours later my phone started going off. A text from Aunt Lisa. Then one from my cousin in Florida. Then two from my mom's next door neighbor, of all people. Apparently my mom had already started telling people I'd bought a car just to dangle it in front of them and take it away. That I was being spiteful. That I was punishing them. That I was ruining Christmas for everyone. By nightfall I had 15 missed calls and more texts than I could count. My favorite was the one that just said, "I heard what you did." Well, the only person who hadn't said a word? My sister. Which was almost impressive, considering she usually can't keep her mouth shut about anything. Either she was avoiding it or she was saving up for something worse. New Year's was coming and the silence from her felt like a warning shot. New Year's Eve came with snow, silence, and a thick tension that didn't move even with the fireworks. The kids stayed up, giggling on the couch with mugs of hot chocolate, paper crowns on their heads. We watched the countdown on TV, and when midnight hit I hugged them and told them I loved them. I meant it. Always do. At 12:07 a.m. my dad texted me, "Happy New Year. Can I stop by tomorrow?" Just me. I stared at the screen for a few seconds before replying, "Sure. Morning is best." He showed up the next day with a box of old family photos. Nothing rehearsed, no drama. He said he wanted to talk, but also wanted to remind me that not everything in our family had to be what it had become lately. That once, a long time ago, it was better. Simpler. He said he hadn't slept much since Christmas. That the kids' faces haunted him a bit. That he kept hearing the way my son asked him if they'd done something wrong. I told him no, they hadn't done anything wrong. I let myself believe for too long that trying harder would fix everything. That if I worked myself to the bone and proved myself enough times, maybe I'd finally be enough for my own parents. But they had made their choice and it wasn't me. It never was. He said he was sorry. And he meant it. That part mattered. We talked for an hour. He didn't beg for the car. Didn't even bring it up. He just asked if we could find a way to be better. For the kids' sake. I said we could try, but I wasn't making any more one-sided efforts. If he wanted a relationship with me and the kids, he'd have to show up. Really show up. And stop letting my mom run everything like she's some queen sitting on a throne made of guilt trips and double standards. He nodded again. Said he understood. Said he was going to talk to her. That was the part one knew would blow everything up. And I was right. By the next morning I had 8 new texts from my mom. Not apologies. Not attempts to make peace. Just pure, unfiltered venom. "You've always made everything about you. You're bitter, selfish, and obsessed with playing the victim. You made your father cry. I hope you're proud." That was the start. They kept coming all week. She called me self-centered. Ungrateful. Accused me of manipulating my dad. She even said the kids didn't need to be dragged into adult conflicts, and that I was using them like pawns. All because I made her feel a little discomfort. A little consequence. The messages got worse by the day. Meanwhile my dad stayed silent. I knew he was stuck. Loyal to someone who hadn't been loyal to anyone but herself in decades. But I also knew the silence was his version of picking a side. He'd apologized. She hadn't. He never would. And for the first time in years I wasn't going to let that slide. By the time the second week of January hit, I was so used to my mom's venomous texts, I didn't even flinch when I saw her name pop up. I didn't read most of them anymore. But one came in at 2:11 a.m. Just the preview alone was enough to make me pause. "You want to punish us? Fine. But don't expect to be part of this family when we're gone." I blocked her number the next morning. I was done. Or I thought I was. That Thursday afternoon while I was cleaning up after lunch, I noticed a car outside. Parked across the street. Just sitting there. It was her. She didn't get out. She didn't call. She just sat there staring at the house. Then after 5 minutes she opened the door, placed something in the mailbox and drove off. I waited until the kids were busy upstairs before checking. Inside was a plain white envelope with my name on it. No stamp. No return address. Just my name in her careful cursive that always looked like it belonged on a Hallmark card. I opened it. There were 4 Polaroids inside. One of me as a kid, passed out on the living room floor hugging my old bear. One of me and my sister at prom, arms awkwardly slung around each other. One of my kids in the backyard at her house, laughing, covered in popsicle stains. And the last one, the one I had sent her. The car, the bow, my driveway. On the back of it she had written in pen, "So much hate. For what?" No signature. No explanation. Just that sentence. I stood there holding it for way too long. Then I shoved the whole thing in a drawer with some expired coupons and let it sit there, like the rest of the junk that wasn't worth throwing away but definitely wasn't worth keeping. 2 nights later the doorbell rang at 9:30 p.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. I peeked out and saw my dad standing there looking like he'd aged 5 years since the last time I saw him. He didn't look angry. He looked done. He handed me a small paper bag and said quietly, "This is for the kids." Inside were 2 small wrapped boxes and an envelope. The gifts were simple but sweet. Coloring books, puzzles, one of those magic marker sets my daughter loves. Not flashy, just thoughtful. The envelope had a check in it. $500. The memo line read, "For the ones who matter." He said he couldn't change her. But he wasn't going to keep defending her either. And then, before leaving, he said something strange. "She found the title. The one you left in the desk drawer last month." I froze. It was true. I had dropped off some paperwork for their Medicare stuff and must have left the title to the Honda in there by accident. I hadn't even realized it was missing. "She knows about the car," he said. "She thinks you're still going to give it to us." That explained a lot. The stare from the car. The Polaroid. The sudden obsession with framing me as the villain. But it also explained the silence from my sister. He'll know. Not even 24 hours later I got the text. "So are you going to help our parents or not? Or are you just going to keep making everything worse like always?" I didn't respond right away. But I was already planning my answer. She had no idea that the car was going back, and that I was going to make sure she watched it happen. Monday morning started with another notification. Group chat, family check-in. That alone made my stomach turn. My sister had started it. She added our aunt, a cousin we hadn't seen in 5 years, and even someone labeled Mom's friend Brenda. Like this was a campaign launch. The messages were a combination of guilt, manipulation, and outright lies. My sister had sent carefully edited screenshots of our messages, cropped to make it look like I'd exploded out of nowhere. Comments about me dangling a gift like a weapon, poisoning the family dynamic, and my personal favorite, letting bitterness destroy Christmas. My cousin said, "You could have handled this differently." Brenda chimed in with, "Your poor mother. She's still recovering emotionally." And Aunt Laura sent, "If your father has a heart attack over this, I hope you can live with it." I didn't reply. I just left the group. By mid-afternoon, my godmother texted me privately. "Mary, I know there's more to the story. I just hope you're okay." I told her I was fine. And I was, mostly. Then around 5 o'clock my phone rang. My sister. I answered. She didn't even say hi. She jumped straight into it. Mom wasn't sleeping. Dad looked broken. I had caused an emotional crisis in the family. And then, finally, the real reason for the call. She said they were going to start helping more with the bills, but it would be good if I could keep covering the utilities and taxes until things stabilized. I didn't even flinch. I just said, "No." She paused. Then laughed. She actually laughed. "Oh, come on. You're still mad? You really think this makes you look strong?" I told her I wasn't trying to look strong. I was just done. Done pretending like we were some kind of balanced family. Done pretending like everything wasn't always tilted in her favor. He tried a new tactic. Said I was being petty. That I was going to regret this. That I was making things harder than they need to be. I let her talk. And then I hit her with it. "You want my help? Sure. Here's some advice. Get lost." Silence. Then I continued. "You want me to keep supporting the same people who excluded me and my kids so they could invite your coworker's dog? The same parents who let you skate by for years while I paid the bills, made the calls, did the heavy lifting? I gave more than anyone. And now you're mad because I stopped." She started to talk over me. I didn't let her. You know what hurts the most? I saved for a year. I skipped dinners, birthdays, even canceled a trip with the kids to make sure I could afford that car. Because I thought it would matter. Not to impress anyone. Just to show them I cared. And they threw it back in my face. I paused. I could hear her breathing, but she had nothing to say now. "So no, I'm not helping you. I'm not helping Mom. I'm not giving anything else to people who only notice me when I stop giving. This isn't revenge. It's freedom." And then I hung up. I turned off my phone for the rest of the night. Put it in a drawer, made dinner with the kids, watched a movie, and actually laughed for the first time in weeks. My dad still messages now and then. Nothing dramatic. He asks how the kids are, sends the occasional cartoon meme. He's trying in his own quiet way. I think he regrets more than he's ready to admit. My mom hasn't contacted me again. I've heard through my cousin that she's still telling people I'm going through something. As if that explains everything away. But here's the truth. I'm not going through something. I'm finally done going through them. And it feels damn good. The update. It had been exactly 64 days since I told my sister to get lost. 64 days of silence from my mom, which was a record. The kids and I had started a new Saturday routine. Library in the morning, pancakes for dinner, and board games before bed. It wasn't flashy, but it was ours. My dad still checked in once a week. Usually a short text or a picture of a crossword puzzle my son had helped him with. He never mentioned my mom. I never asked. We kept it neutral. Then last week I opened the mailbox and saw it. An envelope. Pale pink. Heavy cardstock. No stamp. No return address. Just my name in that same damn handwriting. curved, careful, and pretending nothing had ever happened. Inside was a baby shower invitation. Please join us to celebrate the upcoming arrival of baby Ava. Hosted with love by Mom and Dad. My sister was pregnant. No call. No announcement. Just an invitation dropped in my mailbox like we'd all been one happy family this whole time. The registry link was printed at the bottom in gold script. I clicked it. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. Nearly $3,000 in items. Organic cotton onesies. Designer stroller. High-end bassinet. Personalized wall art. An $89 stuffed animal. It was a wish list that looked more like a luxury brand catalog. And the host on the registry? My mom. The same woman who told me it wasn't the right time to see her grandchildren 2 months ago. I flipped the card over, half expecting more. And there was, in a different pen, in my mom's handwriting again. Let's put the past behind us. We're starting a new chapter. Family comes first. I almost laughed. Family comes first? Since when? When they exclude me and the kids for the holidays. When they rewrite history to make me the villain. When they ignore everything I've done and treat my sister like the second coming because she managed to get knocked up by a rich idiot. I didn't respond. I tossed the envelope in a drawer next to the expired coupons and a broken pen. But it wasn't over. 2 days later, Aunt Laura called. She started off casual, asking about the kids, then shifted. I hear you might not come to the baby shower. I didn't even answer. He kept going. Mary, I know things got tense, but this is a fresh start. Don't punish your sister's baby for something your mom said. I reminded her that my kids were also once babies. Babies who were forgotten when it was convenient. You're still upset about Christmas? She asked like it was ancient history. I'm still upset about a pattern that's been going on for 20 years, I said. She said something about bridges and forgiveness, then sighed and hung up when I didn't budge. A day later, another unknown number. This time it was my mom. From a third phone number. You don't have to come for me. Come for your niece. She deserves better than this bitterness. No apology. Just emotional blackmail dressed in baby pink. I didn't block her right away this time. I stared at that message longer than I should have. But not because it worked. Because it confirmed what I already suspected. This wasn't about the baby. This was about control. They thought they could use the baby to reset the board. That I'd melt at the sight of a cute nursery and forget how they shut my children out. That I'd show up, smile politely, maybe even bring a gift, and fall back into the role they loved. Quiet, supportive, reliable, invisible. They had no idea I was already planning something else. The car. That was step 1. The silence. That was step 2. Now comes step 3. Because I've spent my entire life giving. And this time, I'm going to take something back.